you're coaching, but also there is a possibility of you competing against your sponsor. What did that feel like?
We both knew because he comes by 10 Planet Orange to train in my 11 a.m. class, like probably 2 or 3 days a week at least. And we both talked Tuesday morning, like I think like middle of the roll. He's like, "Yeah, I got the PGF going up," and I was like, "So do I." And it's like, at this point in the game, it's just like I feel like I'm friends with a lot of different competitors. I mean, yeah, I like to kind of poke fun and be aggressive, but for the most part, I'm a pretty friendly guy. It's not the first time I've had an experience where I'm friends with a guy. We're in the same bracket. I'm gonna treat him with as much respect as I can outside of the match. But as soon as that match starts, I'm gonna try and sub you like anybody else. Whether that's some blue belt who just somehow got into the tournament, whether that's a world class black belt, I'm gonna treat the same way. I'm gonna go after it. It is what it is. I'm not trying to like actually physically hurt him unless it comes to that point where he does not tapping kind of thing. But also, I know he'll do the same thing to me too.
What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcast, Rafa Sparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I have some good news for you. We have a terrible guest, but we'll get to him in a second. First and foremost, if you enjoy this show, and I hope that you do, the way that you can support us here is you can go on over to patreon.com/grappling hour. But Raf, what do I get if I go to that website? Well, first and foremost, you would get the ability to see these interviews 30 days before everybody else with early access. So that means we put it up to you guys first. So you're seeing this interview first if you're part of our crew before anybody else for just $5 a month. And for a few extra dollars, you get to see extra bonus content, including bonus materials, mini-sodes, where we do them about certain things with our guests. The last time we did that, we did a match of the year, and he told us what his favorite match of the year was the last time he was on the show for that extra premium content. Plus, we do tape studies. We break down the matches and fights with the athletes themselves for some of their more epic matches. And it seems to be everybody's favorite segment, which is Roast Raf, where people roast my competition footage. You don't learn anything from it. Not at all. You just come to laugh at things that I mess up on. For example, when I trip and people are like, "Did you plan that?" And I go, "Who would plan to trip like an idiot? Not me." So I think that's a great segment. I have been told it is our best offering at the premium place. So also like, comment, subscribe on here. If you don't know what you want to comment on by the end of this video, don't worry, I will give you a prompt. So be sure to go ahead and give us some love. We're so close to getting to 1,000 subscribers here on our YouTube page. And I do recognize I've had a few pages. So you guys have, liked and subscribed and thought like, I've already done that, right? No. This is a different one. This is Grappling Hour. Make sure you like and subscribe. This channel in particular. Last couple things. Oh, we're also on Spotify. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So follow us there. You can also, if you like this merch, check this out. Grappling Hour t-shirts and hoodies. Those are available over at rafasparza.com/merch. It keeps you warm, keeps you cool if you're just getting the t-shirt. A lot of people going to compete in those. Send us photos of you competing or wearing it around the town, because I keep getting tagged in it and I laugh at the places I have seen this stuff, and it's super dope. So again, go support us. That supports me, which helps support the athletes that we interview. So that is on there. T-shirts, $25, hoodies, $45. The combo of them together, $60 savings. And of course, you can join us on our Discord where you can continue the conversations that we have here on the show. All right, let's get to our guest. Well, if you've seen the show, you know that there is slight animosity between me and this guest, but you would also know the fact that he is a consistent presence in the competition circuit, not just local, now starting to blow up big and continuing to do great work. You know him from his work on combat jiu-jitsu. If you're here in Southern California, you know him as a reliable presence over in Orange County, teaching at the 10th Planets out there. And more importantly, he recently punched his ticket as one of the individuals who will be competing at the very highly coveted 6th season of the PGF, where there's $100K on the line for the winning team and an extra $20K if you're able to become part of that 8-man assembly line of individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show your friend, but not mine, Mike. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Raf?
Very, very well. Hey, man, I have to tell you this. I was stoked when I saw that you were involved on the PGF. I was stoked that you were going to be working your way through. When did that opportunity make its way to you, and when were you looking at doing it?
I have always had my eye on the PGF. I've seen a couple 55 qualifiers, but they were kind of far in like Atlanta, I believe, or somewhere like Alabama, or somewhere far that I didn't really want to travel to.
Let's
But yeah,
let's
I
take a moment
saw.
here, Mike. Do I detect a ice cream truck outside of you? And if so, how fat are you, sir?
The ice cream truck is outside, and I'm honestly, I'm pretty fat right now. Honestly, if you know the PGF was at 175, I definitely do not weigh 175, so I'm pretty fat, but I'm pretty close to there, but I'm not, I'm pretty fat. So yeah,
I
but
was just
that I wasn't really planned.
You have to understand. I know it's not planned because I would have cleared that on my side over here. But when I hear that ice cream truck, I think that is appropriate given all of the terrible food that you put on your Instagram. And I have to tell you this, I've yelled at you about this before, but you put up shit that makes myself look like I have diabetes. Like just looking at it, I start to feel all fat and just ugh. But you put the most obnoxiously leaky, cheesy, like greasy shit, and I go, how would you eat half of that? And you're usually putting it up when you're cutting weight. So what's
That's,
wrong with you, sir?
that's exactly it. I've heard it described as like legitimate food porn. It's just for whatever reason I'm going through hard times, and that's what I want to look at, and I want to share it with other people because I definitely can't have that right now. It's usually on the descension to like 45 or 55, but I don't think the 45 will ever happen again. So we don't have to worry about that too
So
much.
so 45 RIP, we're done with that.
I think so. It's just not fun. I mean, like someone, other people might say I'm just not disciplined enough with my food, but I just don't have fun. I don't perform well at 45. It just doesn't seem like a good spot for me. I think 55 is as low as I'll go.
Mike, it is so hard to take you seriously with this music in the background. And
I'm,
it's
gonna,
not
I'm gonna close the window.
thank you. Okay, just I'll cover for here for just a second. Like I want to be very clear. I like making fun of Mike John, but when my man's over here trying to say a very serious point, looking at you, and then being like, "Yeah, absolutely. I think my time at 145 is done." And
I
I'm like,
know
dude,
it's passing through right now. I guess it was just making circles or whatever, but it's going
you
down.
know what it
I'm so
is?
sorry.
That's how bad is it, Mike, that the ice cream truck man has a map that just leads straight to you and goes, just do circles until we break them.
I
He's already,
know.
we've seen his Instagram stories. He's almost broken right now.
I had ice cream last night. I love choco tacos. Like I'm sure I can find an extra couple bucks in my fanny pack somewhere for some ice.
So the thing I've been curious about when you put up those ridiculous food items, has there ever been a moment that you have cheated or that you did indulge some of those impulses when you put up that ridiculous of a food?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'll definitely eat ice cream, or I'll make like a home ice cream sandwich or homemade s'mores, or something ridiculous of that nature. Or like I got my girlfriend a chocolate ganache for Valentine's Day, so then I cut a piece of that, put a marshmallow on top. I got some more chocolate and graham crackers and maybe yeah. So I do that kind of stuff all the time. Like I'm very undisciplined about my food.
I mean, listen, dude. The other thing that people should keep in mind here is that, yeah, when you say you're done with 145, I actually think it's the reverse. I think 145 is done with you. I think it was like, hey, man, just for your own health, we're going to have to let you go. You got to go
Yeah.
somewhere else, buddy. You can't stay here.
It's very neutral. I'm happy to tap out to 145. Like, hey, I don't. You win. I'm not doing this kind of thing.
So let's circle back here. You were talking about being so excited about this year's PGF. You
Yeah.
obviously sign up for it. When did you see that it was going up that they were going to have their qualifiers over in Vegas? Because I think that was also a big determining factor in all of us in Southern California saying like, yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah. I saw Brandon McCaffrey dropped it in the chat. I think Monday night in our own little like 10. We call it the 10WO, the group black belt chat we have. He dropped it in there Monday night. I saw it Tuesday morning, and then it was free to enter, and it was in Las Vegas. And I started to kind of do my calculations and they go, yeah, I can probably, I can probably make that somehow, some way. I just, need to find a ride out there or find I guess, a reliable vehicle out there because my truck will not make it. So I just kind of, I saw it Tuesday morning, entered it, made all my adjustments, and yeah, just started to go for it. I figured 175 is kind of big, but I really wanted to get in on the PGF. I've kind of wanted to get in it for a while. It looks like now is kind of the bubble bursting point for it, where it's getting big. So I thought this is a perfect time. It was kind of like just perfect time when opportunity meets, and I think I think it was just a good choice for me.
I think so too. And I mean, listen, man, I knew a handful of those kids who were involved in it because I saw the names go up and I go, oh, that guy's good. Oh, that guy's pretty good. And then I saw you in there and I thought, man, that's a very good bracket for you. It's not an easy day at the office, but it's definitely one where I go, it's very achievable that you become part of it. And I hate doing this, especially to my friends, but I hate doing I think he's the number one seed. So in my head, I was like, I don't want to say that out loud. I just want to see you do your work because I don't want any excuses. I don't want any of that sort of stuff. I just want to see you get to work, do what you're supposed to do. And man, it really did look that way though at that competition, and you did look dialed in. You did look hella focused. One thing I want to point out before we start getting into some of your match breakdowns is you made a post about it, and you make this announcement, and this is how I know how serious you were about it. This is you putting on a video without a hat, hair is fully combed, and I said, oh my God, Mike John is taking this very seriously. Normally, like even right now, I get all the prestige of you wearing this hat. But on this video, you did the part. It's over to the side. It's you being like, hi, I'm the Mike John you come to, and if you want a car loan. How are you doing,
Yeah.
sir? What can I do to help you?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a message personally from Banner McCaffrey that morning going, hey, I saw her in the PGF. Could you please make like a promo video? And recently, actually at the gym, one of the brown belts was he told me like, hey, if you ever can't find Mike John, just look for the short buff guy. It looks like he cut his own hair. So I was just like, so I've recently been putting a little more effort into my hair because sometimes you get comfortable with a girlfriend, you stop caring. It's like whatever. Like I don't really care. So I was like, okay, I got to put more effort. So I was like, I'm gonna put this on Instagram. I'm gonna look good. I'm gonna look professional. I'm gonna try and really act the part, so to speak. But yeah, also that first comment about me looking like a short buff guy who cuts his own hair kind of really bugged me.
So I think you heard the part that's bad, but like there is definitely a good part of that phrase, and I don't know that most people get that part. So I like the fact that you got real mad, being like, "What'd you say about my hair, dude? I said you're super buff." Yeah, but my hair.
Dude, I cut my own hair. Come on, bro.
Well, listen, bro. It's just that they're probably not used to seeing it. And full disclosure, as someone who's married, I would tell you this: I have one client. I don't care what the rest of anybody else says. So half the time, if I show up like disheveled, I just go, whatever. She's stuck with me. I don't give a shit. I'm retired at this point.
That's how I feel, as my daily uniform consists of sweatpants, flip flops, shorts with no pockets, sweatshirt, hat, fanny pack.
You definitely look like you are in the dad version of it as well. The part where I have fully given up is it's a good day when I look over at Costco and I see they have like these Puma shorts or Puma whatever, the sweats, and I go, it's not a bad deal. I'll take some of those. Yeah. And people are like, yo, why would you get that? I was like, bro, I want to tell you something right now. I have two modes. I either get dressed to the nines and you'll see me in suits, or you will see me in trash. And none of you guys put on anything that's worth me bidding in a suit. But I will say this. I also will be at the PGF, and I will be doing some hosting duties there. So I'll be handling the pre-show and hosting that portion. And you better believe, for my good friend Brandon McCaffrey, I will put on a suit there because I'm going to be joined by other people in Jiu-Jitsu who will be wearing suits. And for the record, I have always wanted to wear suits in Jiu-Jitsu, but I also didn't want to be the only one in a suit in a world full of sweats.
So are you going to be wearing a suit for like 6 days straight? Because I think it's like April 21st, April 26th, 5 days straight.
Honestly, I've thought about this.
Yeah, me too.
I do have many suits. And just so you know, the world before I knew you guys when I was competing in speech and debate, I was in a suit every single day. So it's not unlost to me to be like that, but it's more so the dry cleaning of keeping them all straight. But I did realize, because you're asking the right question, I started thinking about it and I go, I don't trust any of these people. I think I do need a different suit for each day. I don't want to repeat a suit for the reason of I don't know if like I go in to be like, yo, Mike John, bro hug. That was, oh, this is so gross.
Right.
I want to get this
Sweaty,
dry cleaned.
sweaty, right? Yeah, like maybe I just had a really tough match, spectacular victory, whatever. But then again, like you have to think, like, do you think they're all gonna be wearing suits every single day?
You know, I don't know. I mean, Brandon has definitely been leading a lot of the charge on wearing suits. And that to me was a big thing. When I saw him, I think it was probably during Fight Pass. I don't know if he did it for CJJ or for EBI. But when I saw him wear a suit for CJJ, I'm like, he's dressing for the job he wants. God bless him. That's great. I would be happily do it. I feel, though, that if I do show up, I'm going between the two things. I might just go suit jacket with like the dress shirt that's open for the first few days, and then on the last day go tie. But I got some suits and ties that I kind of, I might be busting out. So I realized I was like, yo, that's 6 days worth of suits that I would be putting in the car to drive to Vegas with. So we'll see. Remains to be seen.
I think you just look fly every day, Raf.
Well,
6 days, 6 different suits. Let's go.
To be fully honest, I thought about it and I said, you know what? It's very likely that if they're watching the pre-show, I might be the first representation of the group every single night, welcoming people there. And if that's the case, maybe I should set the tone. Having said that, there's no dry cleaning bill here from the PGF. I can't really expense all that. So I'm going to have to go see if I got 20% coupons to the folks out here in Burbank that I can go because they are very used to me going like, oh, no, hold on. I did 7 suits. I have a 20% off for that. Here you go.
Yeah,
like,
bundle package, please.
Yeah. So, okay. They ask you to put that up, which, by the way, is great.
Yeah.
But it's also you casting a wider net to be like, hey, any of you guys want to compete against me? So to me, it'd be different if you weren't involved, but that's you cutting a promo to be like, hello, everybody, there's this great event. I would like you to come because not like I want to do it, but also I would like to wring your neck. Anyway, have fun. Hope to see you soon.
Oh, that's like an open invitation. It's like just doing your own promo, trying to get the best people in there. To be fair, I didn't really like look at it like that. I thought I just thought about it as just like almost like telling a little bit of a story, but also kind of announcing that I'm doing it as well.
I mean, I was proud of you. I saw you make words without me. And I said, look at this dude's cutting a promo. I'm so proud. Look at you. Look at you all grown up now and doing these things.
I do watch a lot of Tail Sonnen shorts, so that guy has me rolling in tears. So
good. I'm glad that you're learning from the top tier of all that we have to offer here in mixed martial arts. So let's talk a little bit about the day. How great did it not have to feel to cut weight? Like for you to then be going in at 175, you're definitely coming under. And I mean, even at your worst, this would have to go back almost predating like a decade before you even got involved in martial arts. I can't see a scenario where you're above 175. So what did it feel like to just kind of waltz in?
It felt good actually, and that was also part of the reason I wanted to do it, just because I read that the weigh-ins were at 4, so I was like, okay, weigh-ins are at 4, and then you're competing at 5, so it's like anybody that cuts a massive amount of weights automatically at a disadvantage. I think I weighed in around like 166, 167, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be fine no matter. So just another day at the opposite. Like I can probably eat most of the day and most everything leading up to it, so I was gonna feel great no matter what. So yeah, it feels amazing to be able to go in there massively underweight. Now, I wonder if I'm going to feel that exact same feeling during the season, as there's actual, big boys in there. But we'll see. I do believe in my jiu-jitsu, so we'll have a good time.
One thing that we should point out is, and this is what I appreciate about you, you're not short of different size training partners over at 10th Planet. Like you're rolling with people bigger than you, crazy, insane, strong. I know a handful of them myself, or even if they are your size, they're like these Tasmanian devils that just have excellent movement. So it does seem to go in that sense. of what you're used to. Having said that, I look at what happens, I look at you waltzing in, and I just thought the differences in how you must approach the day also probably puts you in a more collectively calm mood. Like to walk into a tournament like that probably has to make you feel one of the easiest that you feel. No worry about scale, no worry about anything. You just can kind of walk in and already bypass one of the biggest hurdles most people have for tournaments. So was that already helping you get into a mentality? And did you almost feel like, sometimes I say this, but I don't know for sure, do you almost feel like because of that, you're a little bit like, you did step one, you already feel a little bit ahead of the curve?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Just because, whenever you make weight or you cut any kind of weight, there's always that first battle. And even if it's done right, sometimes it's still really not fun because you're kind of like, you're taking away a little bit, so you can make weight later. So it was definitely easier just to walk in there and not have to worry about like a last minute weight cut. Because if it was say 155, then I'm having to cut 8 or 9 pounds in the span of like 3 or 4 days, which probably would happen normally because I hate cutting weight anyways, but like it's just not as fun. I wouldn't be able to prepare for it as properly. There's certain foods you're eating, certain water amounts you're drinking. So yeah, it definitely felt easier to have that first battle already won, just to kind of walk in there. And then also on top of that, knowing that if anybody's cutting weight, it's not really that much of an advantage because you're up in an hour. So it was a game changer for me.
Good for you. I wanted to also bring this up because for me, I similar but different. I'm competing this weekend, and one thing that I did notice is, I have the ability to maybe inch down. I'm like in between two different weight classes, and I wasn't originally going to be available this week. I was going to have to take it off. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's my wife and I's anniversary weekend. We were supposed
Okay.
to be in Vegas. Adele got sick, the nerve. Nobody told her it's our anniversary.
You need to
And
get
she
better.
canceled all of her March dates. So my wife and I go, I guess we're going to stay here. So I sign up for this tournament. I look at it and I look at the different weight classes and I go, I could go under, but if we go out, I don't want to just be like sitting there going like, I can't have this steak because, oh, and then my wife just roasting me the entire time, being like, what? You can't touch a steak? What's wrong with
Yeah.
you? And then like having to explain to her, like, I don't know how to tell you this, babe. Cutting weight is death, and I don't want to do it. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be on a scale tomorrow after I eat here at 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. and then regret every second of this delicious steak. Like, no, I was like, I'm just going to stay at the level, not worry about it, and
Enjoy life.
and enjoy one day of life. Like, just make sure, because if it's your anniversary, it's a little bit different to try and tell the wife, especially when they come around and they'll be like, "Sir, would you like a dessert?
And
Oh,
it's
is
like,
it
oh
a
no,
big day for
we're
you
good.
guys?"
No, we're good. No, we're good. I'm cutting weight. And it's like, nah, never mind. It's our one day of the year. You're like, what the?
Could you imagine? The poor waiter has no real reason to be told any of this. It's like, hey man, just so you understand, I have to weigh in tomorrow at like 8 or 9, and the way it goes is I'm kind of a fat kid. This is not going to go well
He's
for
already
me.
checked out. He's over here like, wonder what my next table needs. I bet. Okay, I don't give a fuck. Like, oh, he's gonna humor you, but he's already at table 43. Going, okay, there's water.
Which, by the way, I will say this: my wife very much did enjoy. She was subjected to watching the PGF qualifiers with me, so she was sitting there on her phone and doing this. Who's this one? And I go, oh, this is Mike. He's a friend. And she goes, okay, that's cool. Is he gonna advance? And I go, well, we're hoping. I mean, we'll see what happens. And then she did this. She goes, how many more matches left? And I go, oh, so he hasn't lost yet, which means he has to be beaten twice. So if he's nice to you and he likes you, he's gonna beat this kid real quick. But if he's a dick and somehow loses it for whatever reason, you're going to have to sit through maybe a second or third match. And she's like, oh, fine. And then you won on the first try. And she just goes, oh, thank God. All right, what are we watching now? So she was
Yeah.
very invested in your story. And all things considered, was probably giving you the same amount of respect I would. And I was very surprised because I was like, I think she might actually treat you worse than I do.
Nice, nice, nice. That's good to know. Well, I'm glad I didn't ruin her night. I'm glad I only helped her out that night.
Bro, I mean, she wanted to watch something else, but she did get pot invested. When I told her, I go, I think it's looking good. I think he's going to win. She goes, I hope so. I hope he beats the fuck out of these kids. And I just go, yeah, I think we all do. So obviously, talk to me about your day, because I did give the little bit of it ahead of time, which is you didn't get beat that day, which had to feel so good, especially when you know you have to be beaten twice. Conversely, you also maybe had to have a second match with somebody that you go, I've already put this guy away.
Right. The day was pretty easy. I woke up in Orange County. Got to rent a car from a homie. I had one of my good friends drive me out there, which is great because I got to sleep the whole way out there, which I think was huge because sometimes driving is just not fun. It's like a 4-hour trip. So he drove me out there. I slept the entire way. We get there. And go through the weigh-in. It's not really much of a weigh-in, but after that, I just go find a spot to sleep on the mats. But usually, when I'm at those events, I've done a lot of those events like pretty locally, whether it's here or Texas or Nevada or whatever. So I feel like I'm pretty familiar with most people. So a lot of times I'll kind of talk and mingle to people and kind of catch up with people. And then usually around like an hour beforehand, I'll probably just find a place on the mat and just go crash out and try to go to sleep. It's almost like this weird thing, like where I feel like I get so like overwhelmed sometimes, like, oh my god, this is a big day, like I just go pass out and go to sleep, which is probably like a terrible like genetic trait to have. You just get so nervous, you just fall asleep. But
I legit was wondering, I was like, how the hell are you doing that? Because I don't know that my nerves are high. It's just I get to a point where my productive brain doesn't let me take breaks. So if let's say I'm running, let's say for whatever God reason, I'm going out on a run. My brain immediately takes over and just goes, why are we running? You have this and this and this to do. And it literally will not release me. So I feel like when I go to a tournament and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and relax, the best I can do is almost get to a pre-meditative state where I go, okay. But real sleep not happening. You look like you can actually probably fall asleep at most tournaments. How long did that skill take to acquire, and where did it really start to happen for you?
Um, I think back when I did MMA, because I remember my mom had to talk to me because like I used to watch a lot of MMA fights that my training partners and friends would have, but she's like, hey, just to let you know, like when you do that, like you're kind of like losing energy. I'm like, what? She's like, well, think about it, you're kind of like going like in an emotional roller coaster up and down, watching the fight, kind of going crazy. And sometimes I feel like it make me tired before my fights, so I would start taking just naps in the back. I'd put on like a movie or like just like any kind of music or soundtrack and just go fall asleep. And eventually it's like, all right, wake me up like 30 minutes prior and then I can start kind of moving around, try and break a sweat, and then maybe have some caffeine and go out there and do the thing. But yeah, it's taken me a while to learn how to compete properly and be just selfish enough to where I can feel good on those days, because it's definitely a skill on its own. It's a lot of trial and error. That's why I think that those like college and high school wrestlers are so good at competing, because they do it every weekend for 3 or 4 months straight. And the good ones have like 2 days. Like if you lose the first match and you go to consolations, you can come back on the second day and battle for third place. But if you win all of them, you're going to have a second day no matter what. So I think it's just the way the competition day goes. Sometimes you got to just make the right choices for yourself.
I'm glad that you said the word selfish, because I don't think it's necessarily terrible that you do this, but the fact that you go, oh, we were able to get a car and I was able to sleep. And I thought to myself, that's a terrible co-pilot, especially if this is your big day. So whoever did that for you, you are deeply indebted to, because you broke the first rule of shotgun, which is you're supposed to be here and alive and awake for me. Was there anybody else in the car with you guys, or was it just the two of you?
Just the two of us. Just a really good selfless act and a homie to help me out. Like I think he understood how important the day was, to me, and he was totally okay with it. Wasn't mad at all. Drove there and back. I told him, hey, I'll drive at any point. Just let me know. And he was like, no, man, I got it. I'm like, okay, for sure. Like he was definitely all for me, which is, that's huge. Sometimes it just feels good to have somebody believe in you. So it was good.
Did you drive back?
No, not one bit.
What?
I offered,
Not one bit.
I offered, bro. He was like, "No, I'm good." Are you sure? No.
Wow. Because I thought when you're on the adrenaline and you just won, job's done, mission accomplished for that day,
Right.
you would probably want to take the reins. But instead, no. Sleepy Mike John says, no. I'm gonna go
Okay,
ahead
so
and
I
fall
didn't
asleep
fall
back
asleep
here.
until to the last 30 minutes of the trip on the way back. I was trying so hard. We got McDonald's, you know, we got the heroes supper, and then we drove back and we were just laughing, talking, shooting the shit, kind of reliving the experience a little bit, some of the cooler moments of it, and just overall, he was just an awesome dude, and I was very happy that he was there because that would have been a different trip by myself. I might have stayed the night at Coach Casey's house or something, and then just drove back the next morning just to rest up.
Do you feel like at the point you did fall asleep, those 30 minutes before you got back home, do you feel
Yeah.
like he did one of those things where he was in the middle of talking to you and then realized you were asleep? Like he did the, hey man, isn't it crazy? Oh,
Yeah, this
okay.
motherfucker's asleep. This asshole was like, yeah. He said at one point he looked over, I'm just, and he's like, it's like mid conversation. He's like, oh, this motherfucker fell asleep. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Kareem. I'm so fucking sorry. He's like, don't worry, don't worry. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Well, let's put it this way: is should you win some prize money in a month's time, that is one of the dudes you better be taking care of. So I just want to make sure we get that out in the open.
I agree.
What was the most difficult moment during that tournament? Because to me, it looked a little effortless, but I'm not there. I'm not the one competing. And again, I've noted your composure, but I didn't know what was going on internally. So, what was the most difficult aspect of that day?
I'm gonna go with two. The first one is just the first match. In my opinion, that's always the hardest match of the day. Because if you're in a tournament, that first match decides a lot. Even on a double elimination like that, where you can still kind of come back and battle to it, you're gonna have a lot more matches if you lose that first match. So the first match is always hard, and also the dude was just tough as shit. Some dude I've never even heard of before. He's like from some black belt, I think from like Utah, like a checkmat affiliate. At the rules meeting, his first question was, are slams allowed? And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, no, absolutely not. So I thought I was gonna have like a really tough match with that guy, and I did. It was 6 minutes. It was my first match that I think I caught by decision, but I've rewatched it a couple times. We were pretty neck and neck for the most part. Like a BMAC put it, like, yeah, we're both throwing attacks, but no one's really leading the dance. And then eventually I got a couple, I think, key takedowns, and a decent guillotine attempt, which really didn't do anything to him, but it looked better to the people making the judges call. So that was a pretty tough moment for me. And then the second one was just going against the same guy twice because it's kind of a little bit of a mind fuck. Like you beat this guy once, and sometimes you beat him pretty easily the first time. Well, when you go against him the second time, the longer the match goes, the more that guy starts believing in himself, and the more it's like, oh my god, this guy's starting to get tougher and tougher. And it's like, oh shit, shit, shit. You feel kind of the tide shift a little bit. So it just for that, it's just mental composure over the next 6 minutes and just keeping the pace and just not accepting anything. But that's probably the hardest, like I guess, skill for me to kind of to keep in play like during competition when it matters.
I did laugh because I thought you were good in that first match. And I thought, yeah, it was close, but I did think you did enough. Like, it's one of those good back and forths. And like you mentioned, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. So, is that going to be where you're going to be like? Did you set a bar that you're going to be able to clear the next match? And I just thought, okay, he got his feet wet. He's set to go now. But you then go throughout your next match, and you're going up against, I believe this was Dane Leake a little bit later in that second match. And that was another solid match. I mean, literally all around, there were a number of different people who I thought it's going to be interesting to see you go up against these people. There were a lot of different components where I go, oh, that dude's fun to watch, or that might be a good match. So are you then ingesting? Are you watching the rest of everything take place, or are you back over into your nap cubbyhole and just kind of depowering for a little bit?
Kind of a mixture of both. Honestly, the Dane Leak match was pretty important to me too, just because I've seen Dane compete against Keith on high rollers a couple times, I think, and then maybe even another like tournaments over in like Kansas, maybe like Subspectrum or something like that. I've seen Dane for a while. I knew Dane was tough as shit, so I was very happy that match went the way it did. And then yeah, in between matches, I also had two friends out there competing. I had Pat Cahill, who is a Gracie Baja black belt, who just happens to train with us over at 10 Planet Orange. He was in it. And then I had Samson, I forget his last name, Samson. He's actually one of my new sponsors for Phase Energy Drink, sorry. But yeah, as I was thinking of his last name, I call him Samson Phaser. But he was also in the tournament. And so I was kind of coaching them to help them out a little bit in between trying to be selfish and recover a little bit. But there were a couple times where I just felt like I had to speak up because I see what's going on and I just can't shut up.
Can you talk to me a little bit about this, which is you're coaching, but also there is a possibility of you competing against your sponsor. Not many people have that issue or that problem. Samson's pretty good in his own right. So what did that feel like when you're like, oh, thank you for giving me the monies and for giving me the things. We're really hoping I do well. So gotta kind of murder you. Continue giving me the monies, please.
Well, so we both knew because he comes by 10 Planet Orange to train in my 11 a.m. class, like probably 2 or 3 days a week at least. And we both talked Tuesday morning, like I think like middle of the roll. He's like, "Yeah, I got the PGF going up," and I was like, "So do I." And there's like, but usually at this point in the game, it's just like I feel like I'm friends with a lot of different competitors just because I'm not. I mean, I like to kind of poke fun and be aggressive, but for the most part, I'm a pretty friendly guy. So I. It's not the first time I've had an experience where I'm friends with a guy. We're in the same bracket. I'm gonna treat him with as much respect as I can outside of the match. But as soon as that match starts, I'm gonna try and sub you like anybody else. Whether that's some blue belt who just somehow got into the tournament, whether that's a world class black belt, I'm gonna treat you the same way. I'm gonna go after you. So and I think he kind of had that same understanding too. So it is what it is. I'm not trying to like actually physically hurt him unless it comes to that point where he does not tapping kind of thing. But also I know he'll do the same thing to me too. So it's a little weird, but luckily not my first rodeo, as they say.
And, I know Samson fairly well. We've also worked together for Subversive. So this is equally complicated to me where I go, I don't know what to do here because I need my coworker to be healthy. So nobody break him, please. I need you to do well because I want you to do well.
Right.
But then if you do get broken, you're not working Subversive, but you're also on the card for Subversive. So it was a very complicated series of things that I'm thinking at this whole time. And at one point I did tell my wife, I go, yeah, we need him to be healthy. And she goes, yeah. And I go, we get him first. He goes to us and then he goes to PGF if he wins. And she's like, oh, and I go, yeah. So I'm at a place now where everybody on the card that I see for Subversive, I am watching their stories and being like, everybody be healthy and make smart choices. So you're definitely, unfortunately, in that realm of people that I go, do well,
Yeah,
stay healthy. I'm not replacing you.
I mean, yeah, I'll be totally good. I just gotta do my yoga,
Fair enough. I want to take a little stop here because we'll come back to it since we got on Subversive. So just full disclosure, I know Mike and Samson are close with you. I know I have always known you for years, but it is kind of funny when Mike will tell me, oh man, I got a great match. And I go, okay, what is it? He goes, I got a great match from Mike John. And I go, well, who is it? He goes, Ian McCall. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. I go, the last time McCall was on the card, if I remember correctly, it was him versus Smitty. Okay, that was what it was. You're not going to be a trash talker in that way. And then on some preview photos and videos, there's you being like, oh yeah, we've trained together. And, now we get this opportunity to do it under a different set of circumstances. So why the excitement for this? And what was your reaction when they threw that name at you?
If I had to be honest, I'm excited just because for one, Subversive is one of the bigger tournaments. It's one of the biggest, I think, so it's a good stage. Two, Ian has a lot of hype behind him. Let's not forget, I think he won that first fight against Mighty Mouse. To be honest with you, I thought in another universe, he's for sure a champion. Another timeline, and I would believe what you will. So it's a very exciting matchup for me, just because that's a real quality, top 1%er in terms of his weight class. So that's exciting for me. And then when they offered me the matchup, um, at first I thought it was combat jiu-jitsu, so I was kind of like, I don't know. He's looking kind of beefy, and he can definitely put some hands in my face. But then the mic was just like, oh no, there makes no sense for you to combat jiu-jitsu. Your match is ended in like 30 seconds anyway, so it wouldn't make sense for you to pay all that. And I was like, you're right, it doesn't make sense to do that. Let's just do normal nogi. He's like, yeah, I'm all perfect. Nogi, let's just do that. Just jiu-jitsu. I'm not getting slapped. Let's do it.
Well, that's great. And I love the fact that that's where we're going because, last time it got very weird between him and Smitty. And I don't mind trash talking, but I saw that it was still happening after the match. Like there was still back and forth. And I just thought, like, guys, I don't have any more room on this car. Like, we're done here. Unless you guys are going to go somewhere else. And Godspeed if you do. But this is where I go back to mute. And good luck to everybody. And the other thing is, I thought Ian McCall won that pretty handily to the point where I go, okay, I get it. Yeah, somebody did that to me. In my realm, I'm very self-effacing, but I am good at trash talk. So there would almost be a line of like, yeah. So what, he mounted me. So what? So what? He was in top position for 8 minutes, didn't submit me. Wah. And right. Then it would be like, but let's grab a beer. Like, we're good now. Like, we competed. I talked shit. It was all for the show. So all of a sudden, when I see your name get thrown in, I'm like, oh, thank God we don't have to do this again. Okay, good. We're going to move on. Hopefully we get Smitty a different match, him a different match, because the only thing I started to get concerned for at a certain point is, at a certain point, you have to remember these people are MMA fighters. And like, Ian's a very professional one. He shows up on time, fulfilled his media obligations. We got along just great. But I'm also like, yeah, dude, I don't think I want to talk shit to him, man. I don't think I want to poke that bear for any more than I need to.
I couldn't agree more. I think he would fight anybody right then and there, personally. There are certain fighters where it's kind of like, I think they'd square up right here. Like me personally, I'm not trying to fight anybody. Like if I get any altercation outside of the gym or outside of the cage or the ring, it's like, hey, we can talk this out. There's no need for any of this. I'm not trying to do any of that, But I agree. I think you have to remember, certain people are fighters. They will punch you in the face if you say some mean things enough. And certain people are internet kids, and they're used to just kind of saying whatever the fuck they want online. And when those two meet, something can happen, So
it is in that realm of like, listen, dude, I am not the world's biggest Sean Strickland fan, but I also understand maybe, that's the person that you at least afford some respect for his ability to fight and have some insight into being like, yeah, I don't think he's all here. Like, I think something's not okay. I think he didn't get hugged or some issues happening here. But why am I going to go ahead and make the extra mile to be like, let's make this Hornets mess super mad?
Right. It just, I think it just kind of goes back to like, sometimes you can't. I don't want to be rude because he's a 10-point blue belt, But sometimes I feel like you just got to make noise through a little bit of poking the bear, like we said earlier. And I think that's,
Sure, dude. More power to you. I think it's very funny in the sense where we want to be nice, we want to be respectful, but in terms of a show, when I saw that, I go, yeah, we don't need to make that match again. I'm kind of bored by it. And I go, someone else can have it if they want it. And hopefully cooler heads prevail and everybody sees each other and they're all kumbaya and it's all one big act. But I'm not in on the act and I'm producing it. So I'm like, oh, okay, is that what's happening? All right, you kids have fun. Yeah. The outside of this, if you guys are outside the arena, this has nothing to do with me. So I'm not responsible there.
We don't support this at all.
Don't know what's happening. That looks like a parking lot. Bye, everybody. Got to get back to the production room. So anyway, but yes, I am glad that you had that match with him. I think it should be a very fun one, a jiu-jitsu match. And I think the other thing that's going to happen here is you did mention, you're like, yo, he used to get the better of you way back in the day during more MMA circumstances, but now you are quite accomplished in your world too. And it's going to be fun for you to test yourself under a completely different set of circumstances. So I think that is a very cool showcase for both of you guys to have, also for him, a game partner who wants to put on as much of a show as he does.
No, I agree. I can't wait to get out there with him. I think his exact quote was, "I want somebody that's supposed to beat me," and I was like, "All right, for sure." I think you found the right matchup, to be honest with you.
That's a great one. I'm going to use the inversion of that one though. I want people who are not supposed to beat me. There we go.
Yeah, that sounds a little funnier, actually. It sounds like a Craig Jones approach.
I'm just, listen, bro. I'm not trying to stay there for too long. I don't have the time that you do to be at a qualifier all day. Like half the time, dude, I literally weighed the idea of potentially doing adding on gi because I was like, oh, is it only $30 to add on gi? And then I started doing the math where I go, but how long do I have to be there?
Till midnight.
Yeah. Bro, I don't know if you saw this, but I don't think you're here. You're not competing. You still do a lot of adult category.
Yeah.
At the Jiu-Jitsu World League, they're like, old people, you're on at 7:00. And I'm like, bro, if it goes an hour later than that, I think I'm ready to go.
I'm going to bed, yeah. Remember when it was outside? It was at the Fullerton College. And it was outside. Like, you imagine it's like December, 7:00. You're up like, oh, what? Like, at least now they have it. I think at the convention center, or it's inside. And it's like it's probably still pretty cold, but not as bad as the outside.
It's not as bad as that. It's just I get to a point where I go, my night is coming to an end. Like at 8:30, I'm not the main event of a UFC pay-per-view. I'm not on a super fight basis. This is a tournament. I understand you guys have a lot of people to serve, but I want to eat already. I want to go home. I want to be in my bed. And yet, I think the consensus I've got from other fellow old people is we all kind of look at each other like, let's make this quick. Let's everybody try to kill each other and let's go home at a reasonable time. And I appreciate that I am surrounded by other people who feel that same way.
Were you at the last the ADCC Open in Long Beach?
No, I went there for half of it.
All right.
Actually, story time. So the way that one worked was I had a buddy who signed up, and he's good. He's newer, but he's a solid kid. Very solid wrestling. And on my kind of recommendation, I was like, hey, man, I think you should do it. It'd be a really fun opportunity. He's like, oh, okay, word, I'll do it. He signs up for it. He does the expert division, which, okay, fine. He's a big boy. He can do whatever he wants. And he tells me what division he signs up for. And I was like, oh, you're fighting against a lot of my homies. And he's like, yeah. And I go, yeah, one of whom I'm going to train with today. And he goes, yeah. And I go, yeah. So we're going to have a talk about it. And that person is Bobby Winther. So Bobby Winther and I are sitting down having a discussion about this. And I go, Bobby, we need to be very straight up here. And he's like, what's up? I go, I have some news. I have a friend, and I'm not saying I'm going to coach him because I'm not his coach, but there may be a scenario in which I do take a seat with him against you. How do we feel about that? He's like, oh man, that's so cool. Oh, that'd be so great. I would love for you to do it. He goes, I actually kind of wish you didn't tell me. It would have been awesome if you just shook my hand and go, good to see you, buddy. And then took a seat and I just go, well, I don't think I can do that. I go, but
kind of super just like before the match, nice to see you, Mr. Winther. And he's like, yeah, what the?
Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, I'm coming out to interview you, and I think we're good buddies, and I'm definitely the guy who's like, hey, man, I hope you win this. But now things are a little bit different. So anyway, I go see my buddy. He competes in his first match, goes well.
Nice.
And then for whatever reason, I look down and I go, hey, man, it looks like you got to buy until 4 p.m. Keep looking at it. Nope, no, you don't. You're up in 20 minutes. He's like, what's up? And I go talk to the coordinators. He's like, why? I go, because they just reset you. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, that first match you had didn't count.
What?
They had to reset the entire bracket. And I think the ruling they gave was that they accidentally did the bracket when it wasn't ready. And so they basically were like, yeah, we had to fix the bracket. And I go, well, you already had several first matches. So why don't you just take those underneath? Now, when I tell you that I have friends in this division, I have many different people that we know, and I don't know him personally, but he's been on the show a few times. And I go, cool. So win your first match, and your second match is going to be Andy Varela. And he's like, oh, and I go, yeah. Listen, dude, we could accept if it's Andy versus him on a bracket. When they do the hard reset, I'm just like, it'd be different if your match counted, but it didn't. So now his opponent is you have to eliminate him 3 times sort of a deal. And so I just go, this is fucking insane, dude. And I felt so embarrassed because here I was being like, you should do this tournament. It's great. And before he can go coach again, or before I can go coach, I guess, against Andy, which Godspeed if you can figure that out. he said this. He was like, "Hey man, I think I'm up at like 4:30," and I go, "I have to do commentary for Star."
Oof.
So I had told him I
Yeah.
had to leave at a certain point, and so cut to
Yeah.
me being like, "Godspeed, he's crazy. I'll see you later."
I wish you the
And
best of luck. How's your neck?
next thing you know, I asked him how it went. I actually did this just so we followed this story perfectly fine. I told him, I'm like, "Hey man, don't worry. I'm going to follow along in my car because I'm going to have it on my phone. So I'm going to put it on my phone. I'm going to follow along." And he goes, "I'm going to text you." I go, "Great." I get to my car. I put on Flow Grappling. I look at Flow Grappling and it says it's not streaming it. So it was like,
I went out.
yeah, it was just a multitude of things going wrong. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey man, how'd it go?" And he goes, "Well, he definitely flying triangled me." So that was the highlight reel that Andy got off of that. And I go, "Well, welcome to Jiu-Jitsu, man. I think we threw everything terrible at you at the first day." I go, "But you probably wouldn't have gotten a match against Varela to begin with. So at the very least, you got the opportunity that you wouldn't have probably been afforded to. It's just what an absurd series of events." But I heard it went very, very late.
I gotta agree with you on that because like I know other like he's someone who's gonna go to ADCC like easily, not easily, but as someone who does well at the trials. Even if he doesn't, since you've already been there, you might get an invite back. But he's world class, so it's like that is like invaluable experience competing against someone of that caliber. Like yeah, that can happen. I can still get flying trunk at that level. Yeah, I was shitty, but hey, do with that what you will, kind of thing.
And to be fair, I had actually, and you've been with me on how I like to run things. That sometimes I'll make a suggestion to people who are in the rounds and I'll be like, "Hey, I need you to do this." And one of the first things I gave Milton to do is I was like, "Hey, can you go flying triangle him?" And he was like, "Sure." And I go, "Just trust me on that." So when he told me, he's like, "I got flying triangle," that I was like, "Man, still got it. All right, at least that's there. That wasn't wrong." I go, "The difference is I couldn't have told you it was going to be Varela, and good luck trying to figure that one out." So all things considered, still very silly and very funny.
Would you say that's like pattern recognition for you, just reading grapplers and kind of knowing the moves they kind of throw at people as personality, or just kind of like, oh, I know Varela does that shit all the time?
To be honest, it wasn't based for Varela. It was based on part of the posture. And I like to put up danger scenarios because what I like to do is I make an assessment of the grappler. Like, this is why my brain works better than my body does. Like, I know what's happening, and it's part of the reason why it's hard to submit me, which is I'm probably not winning on points, but I know what you need. So if you're, yeah, the Raf guard is very good. But if you think about it, it keeps me vaguely safe for a certain amount of time. And the issue that I have is when you're trying to equal things out, you put up different equations for the guys. And so for him, I was just like, yeah, do this because I imagine somebody might do it. And I do remember somebody coming up to me and they were like, "How'd you know?" And I was like, I don't want to say that I knew. There's no way I knew it would be Varela. I knew it was in the category. But Varela has such good movement, you want to duplicate it. I go, the other person who was in that bracket is Kyle Chambers. And I go, I can't replicate his leg game. But I can tell you, you're definitely going to want to pass a certain way with that dude's ability to reach. And it's going to be difficult. So
outside passing.
It's outside passing, but it's also just like he's very good at cutting the distance. So a lot of what I do is I just kind of present scenarios that I think are likely to people. And so that's my gift.
My biggest complaint about that ADCC was I had a great time competing. Obviously, it sucks when they say you're up at 12:30 and then you're up to 1:30. I hate that shit, but that's just the nature of the beast that we compete in. None of my matches are on there, like none of them. And then I obviously that bothers me, right? But I will never see Kyle Chambers, Andy Varela again. And it looked like a great match. It looked like a really, really good match. And I was curious how those styles went up against each other because I'm a fan of both of them. So I was just I was curious,
I feel like, it's one of the ones that gets lost to the archives that don't exist. I was more mad because while doing commentary for Star, I have it kind of on my phone or the computer where I'm trying to like, okay, here's what happened. And then I just see this footage of like a major cut on Chambers and I go, what the fuck happened there? And then I'm looking for answers. And on Varela's reel, I think I just saw him being like, yo, it was a great day. And I just saw this and I go, okay, but how did we get there? Like, what happened there? Like, what happened to get to this? And I don't mind that. Just tell me what the fuck happened. And I think I saw small footage of it later, but I go, that's not the full match. I want to see the full fucking thing.
I never saw any of it either. I was so mad I was competing. That's one thing I loved about the Open is like, if you have if a big team competing, we're all going at the same time. So we're all going to experience the exact same thing. Another thing I hate is we're all going at the same time and I can't watch the matchups I want to see. You know, I want to see Ian Morgan versus Richard Alarcon. I want to see Isaac Cordova versus Ian Morgan. I want to see Andy versus Kyle. There's all these matchups I want to see on top of coaching my own students. So it's the thing that I kind of love about it is that we're all, it's just like, this chaos that we're all kind of going through and we're all trying to work through it, you know, but it's also like, man, I kind of wish I was there on the sidelines for some
Bro,
of the
I'm
game.
with you. And listen, dude, I'm there as a civilian when I'm going. Like, I'm not doing photographs. I'm not doing any of that stuff, not doing interviews. I'm just there to support a buddy. And I feel like shit when people are like, yo, Raph. And I'm like, hey, I got to warm them up. I love you. I'll talk to you later. And they're like, yeah, okay. Raph. And I'm and my buddy goes, well, you feel bad, but I'm like, I have typically nothing to do. So I'm sure if this was maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, I could talk to you for a second, but I'm here for my buddy. And he just said this to me at one point, which kind of didn't make me feel super bad, but it made me kind of reassess things. But he goes, hey, man, you kind of know a lot of people here. And I was like, I do. We have a lot of guests and a lot of friends here.
You are the connector. You talk to everybody.
I'm, one of my training partners once referred to me as the mayor of Jiu-Jitsu. He's like, every time I see you, kissing babies, shaking hands, and I was like, yeah, that's about right. I can see that. And I think at one point he was trying to call me like a governor or a senator, and I was like, no, mayor's good. I like mayor. Mayor's like a chill job. I could take that.
Yeah, I all their respects. Not too much responsibility, but yeah.
Small town, good government. Take care of that. It's all good. Let me ask this though, sir. So what did it feel like to get the ticket punch? What did it feel like to win that? Because obviously, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. You could have had a certain match happen an additional time, 3 times, but you were able to stop it on the second. And one thing that I knew is I knew you were going to be solid in a couple spaces. Obviously, your guillotine's money, but your back control is underrated. And I think that when I saw you lock up parts of the back control during that tournament, I said, he under no circumstances is going to let that go. So I started feeling very, very encouraged and very happy. I was like, he's close. He's close here. So what was going through your head toward the end of that tournament experience?
Do not shit the bed. Do not shit the bed. I feel like I had all the tools to make it to the end and make it in like an exciting fashion. It's just sometimes I feel like in previous tournaments, previous competitions, like I don't know if I get too excited or if I get maybe excited as a term. It's just like excited at the thought of finishing that I don't do it. I don't know if I get scared that I'm going to make the wrong choice, but sometimes I feel like I just don't feel on. Whereas that day, I feel like I was making really good choices the whole time, even if I was near like a bad position. You know, look at my face, very calm, composed. The person wouldn't get too deep of a bite on whatever it was, and I was able to kind of like turn it into my favor. So it felt really good. You know, I feel like me personally, I've had a lot of problems finishing the process, so to speak. Like I've always kind of known that like the first 0 to 80 or 90%, that's hard work. Yeah, that's hard. But the last 90 to 100, that's the hardest part for me personally to finish. So the fact that I was able to go out there and kind of get, 5 matches under the belt and beat the same guy twice was huge to me. I think it's just mental endurance and just kind of, slowly chipping away at competing all the time and kind of just knowing what to give myself on those days in between the matches, what to tell myself, what to focus on, what to not focus on. I thought it all just felt like it felt really good. So yeah.
And then when you finally got the moment and you realize that you're going to the big dance, which means you are going to be part of arguably one of the biggest events of the year in jiu-jitsu, what were you processing in your head and what did that feel like?
It's gonna sound kind of bad, but one, it was like I did it, and two, it was like fuck yeah. I knew I fucking belong here. I saw some of the lineup, and I was like, I think I can beat that guy. I think I can beat that guy. And I was like, wow. And then you kind of look at like the grand prize for it, and then the point system and the coaches. I'm like, wow, I really want to be part of that. And then you see some of the competitors in it. I'm like, I think I'm at that level. Hey, me and him have done kind of the same events. We've been in the same tournament, so it's like I think I'm there. So when I actually won it, I was like, fuck yeah, I was right. So the first part of that was right. I do belong here. You know, I can compete with these big motherfuckers and these high level guys and do good.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, dude, you've competed at a number of things before, and what is the pro con of the 10th planet system is a lot of the times, even amongst your own system, there's top tier competitors that you're going up against. So that even to get the opportunity to fight against other people, you have to battle amongst your own. And then it's a whole different beast going outside of that. So to me, I was like, well, this is good. You get to now go to that next level. I will say, hilariously, when I was watching you in the background, I saw my man over here mingling with some of the very important peoples, if you would, because that camera, we didn't have a lot of space, but we could see on the edges. So almost like if you see me full frame, you see almost where in the background of like where the painting is, you kind of see over that way. You go, oh, is that him talking with a potential sponsor slash coach? Oh, look at Mike John over here being like, hello, sir. Hello. And I go, okay. The courting process has already begun here, even without the actual season starting.
Right. Kind of just talking to people, networking. I did bartend for like close to like 8 or 9 years, so I am pretty good at just talking a little small talk, you know. But as I teach twice a day, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, and I'm just getting more and more comfortable talking in front of people and kind of just, you know, doing it in a comfortable way where I feel like it's not creepy. It's not like I'm not being too aggressive or anything like that. I feel like, and I feel like I'm just doing it in a way that just helps everybody. And then, you know, just because like as a grappler, it's like a lot of us are really good, but a lot of us are unknown because we don't really have the opportunities to go out there and show how good we are. And you can get a lot of opportunities just by networking really well, you know, just by, you know, just being a nice guy and just kind of being welcoming. So I think part of that is huge. You know, I always tell Isaac Cordova that, hey man, we are world class. We just have to get on the right stage to show it. I promise you.
Yeah, that's facts. And I'll support that with two things. The first is, you know, even as a host, there is an introvert extrovert thing that happens all of the time. So even on my side, I'd like to think I'm friendly. I like to think I'm approachable, but I definitely have my moments where I'm like, and I'm done. Okay, gonna go back to just being chill. So I go back and forth, and what works for me, which I'm glad is working for you now, is I just tell people I'm like, I'm going to talk to you on terms that I find are good for me. So a lot of the times it's basically like, hey, an event happened, or hey, I saw you over here. And sometimes I see people and I go, you know what? I don't have anything to say to this person. I have nothing new. So I'm going to wave. I'm going to do one of these. And if they have something to say to me, I will 100% respond. But sometimes it's literally like, hey, I'm going over here. Good to see you. At the very least, to give them something. Because the last thing I want to do is go like, hey man, so you've been doing some jiu-jitsu lately, right? Like, no, I can't do it.
Jits, yeah, it's a pointless small talk is it's killing for both of us. We can both feel it. You know, sometimes it's like, hey brother, good to see you. I'm gonna go take care of my athlete. I'll see you around, brother. Good to see you, man.
Sounds like a great interaction to me. Best friend I ever had. Sounds really,
Yeah,
really good.
Old reliable.
So I'm just like, hey, listen, dude, super happy about it. But two, I think you're right. I think part of it is making sure that you have these opportunities. And one thing that you said in your post interview with Tim Freeman was you were mentioning how you did have that background of bartending for a while and you did work at Chili's and you were like, hey man, you know, this is something you mentioned to me where you're like, did I do something wrong? And it's so weird to have that feeling that if you really take this at its core, you say, oh no, I want this. So I have to continue to work at this because I don't want that. I want this. So if there's a choice or a description between the two, why wouldn't you take the time to go talk to people or to just say, hey, I'm interested in whatever you got?
Right. No, yeah, I do all I can to. I tell the guys at the gym I don't ever want to go back into the matrix, so to speak. I don't want to go to those 9 to 5s, those 10 to 7s. Like, this teaching jiu-jitsu life is very special to me, very important to me. It's literally a dream come true. So I'm gonna do all I can, whether it's to read a book, watch a YouTube video, talk to certain people, whatever it is, I'm gonna do it to stay here.
Well, let's ask this. So, what would it mean a win? What would a win mean for you at the sixth season of the PGF, sir?
Like just a win over anybody, or like
No, I
actually being
mean,
like,
like, what would it mean to win? Like, both as a team and then individually, because there's a good 40K prize right there, and that's not life altering money, but it's definitely year changing money.
oh, 100%. I don't know if we know this, but there's really not a lot of money in grappling for the most part. A lot like to start out, you're paying your own entry fee, you're driving to the place, you're going to some event that's probably not organized that well. And then once you get past that, then you can start kind of not even getting paid to grapple. You just do grappling for free for people, and then you got to promote yourself. So yeah, this would be a huge opportunity for me, and it's something that I'm literally thinking about morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. As I go into training, as I work on escapes, as I work on my finishing mechanics, it'd be huge to me. But at the same time too, like I it's very important to me, but I try not to put so much thought into it because I feel like my jiu-jitsu does best when I'm just reactive and I'm just moving. So I try to treat it just like, I would be doing this no matter what. I would be training morning, night, no matter what. I would be in pursuit of perfection, of my guard passing them out no matter what, of my leg locks no matter what. This would be a dope side quest to achieve, though. A really, really dope side quest. And to be fair, or to be honest, I should say, I'm just happy that I'm even a part of it, that I want it. But I do want that extra 40K. I do want everyone to take a look at me, in the middle of that and go, damn, that guy put on exciting matches, or damn, that guy was down, but he found a way to fucking win, or damn, that guy, he'll never give up. That's what I want.
So, as we start to round third here, I would like to ask this, and I haven't got to do this with anybody yet because I haven't really got to talk to people who are going to be competing at the PGF yet, or at least that I knew were competing at PGF. But I would like to ask this. Right now, I would like for you to take a moment and sell yourself to those 4 different coaches. Now, granted, they're going to have some time to see you. There's going to be the whole combine, we do a draft, all that sort of stuff. But you have just espoused upon the idea of taking every second and every opportunity you've got. So right here, you've got an opportunity. How would you sell yourself, young Mike John, to these coaches that you want to be a part of their team?
That's a good one. I was actually kind of thinking about that to myself recently, especially as I watched the documentary on the grapplers and all that. But I don't think I think the bottom line is I don't think anybody really on that circuit. I think there's very few people in there who have as much sub only experience as me as we're competing in a sub only event. I don't think there's as many people in there who compete as frequently as I do. And I don't think there's, I mean, I could say I don't think there's anybody that wants as much as me, but that's kind of, subjective a little bit. I just don't think I just don't think that anybody in there has as many tools as I have to find ways to win, whether that's RNCs, whether that's guillotines, whether that's heel hooks. I just think I'm the guy to find a way to win. I'm not cutting any weight. My cardio is great, and I'm ready to fucking take on anybody.
That's it. And I mean, another thing to add is, you've got some pounds to spare. So you can back clean up at the table in case people don't finish their food. Pasta savings. Sure, it means, they don't have to buy as long of a rash guard. I mean, you're going to be real compact.
Yeah, there's lots of hidden benefits and hidden tangibles with this 165 frame.
Listen, dude, genius switch. There's no off position here. Just consistently coming up with the ideas to make sure you're more sellable. Sir, what I would like to do right now, I'm going to put the camera on you. I would love for you to go ahead and shout out all of your team or your sponsors that have been very incremental and helpful into making sure you made it to the PGF, sir.
Perfect. Well, first and foremost, I got my team over at 10 Planet Orange wearing the t-shirt. Literally like the best team in the world. I got people that compete every weekend that that believe in the jiu-jitsu that me and John Cho teach, and they represent us in an amazing fashion. So I'm thankful for them. And to be fair, I don't train anywhere else but there. So literally all my training is done there. So they are the reason that I'm able to do whatever it is that I do. When I do great, it's because of them. When I do bad, it's all on me. Another thing is I have a sponsor, Energy Phase Drink. It's a drink enhanced with natural superfoods and a decent amount of caffeine. It's great for performance, recovery, and hydration. But yeah, this is part of the Subversive event. And then I have the best meal prep in the business, Knockout Bakery, which actually makes things a lot easier as I'm very busy between morning privates, 11 a.m. session, afternoon privates, podcast interviews. It just makes eating a lot easier, and I can't tell you how much better it is to have like a home cooked meal as opposed to. I mean, I do love the taqueria. Don't get me wrong, but this actually feels way better, and I can eat more of it and not feel as terrible. So yeah, Knockout Bakery is amazing. Other than that, I think that's about. Oh yeah, Our Life CBD. That's what actually saves my joints, honestly, more than other stuff. Rubbing CBD on my knees and ankles, mostly the menthol kind, that really helps out. So Our Life helps out a lot. But yeah, those are the three main ones.
Good man. I have to say this, which is we ran into each other at the last Medusa event, and we were kind of starting to figure out, like, what are you doing? I'm going to see you at ADCC. I hope everything's going well. And we're just talking shop. There was no scenario in which I had any knowledge that the PGF was going to make this big of a jump, that you would be a part of it. And yet, even when we were talking about goals and what you kind of had down the pipeline, I could not be happier for you. I'm very stoked to see you. I'm also happy to be a part of it. So it's going to be super great to see you and amongst all of our other friends in the community. But I think this is a well-deserved spot. I think you earned it. And I think that I await for you to create some surprises in this tournament. So I very much am looking forward to seeing you get to display your excellent jiu-jitsu on those mats, sir.
Thank you so much, Raf. I agree. Hate to be repetitive, but it's like I said, I really think I'm really good. I think I'm one of the best guys in the world in certain spots. I just think I have to be able to show it. And I think this is a great platform to show it. I think there's some great individuals in that tournament, and I cannot wait to get my opportunity to test myself against them.
I mean, I'm already looking at some of the names and thinking like, oh, that'd be a good match. Oh shit, you and him, that would be a good match. So, no shortage of good things to happen there. Sir, I'm going to say bye to you off air. I'm going to close this bitch up, but my thanks to you, Mike John, your PGF 6 qualifier, who will be competing for the big 100K team prize and potentially the extra 20K for the individuals. Congratulations to you, and I look forward to seeing you very soon, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you guys. Just before we get on out of here, a couple quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like this show, like, comment, subscribe. If you have no idea what to comment on right now, I'll give you a prompt. Tell us your biggest cheat meal. Like, not just like, oh, I have some ice cream, like Mike John. Like, show us or tell us in the description what is the filthiest, grossest thing that you put into your mouth, because every time Mike John puts on a burrito on his Instagram story, I feel like I've gained 5 pounds. And I recognize, I'm like, I can't eat all of that. I would have to eat half of it and then come back another day and eat the other half. So I'm just saying, describe what it is in the comment section. Also, if you guys want to help us and get some merch, we're running low on sizes, but we still got some. Grappling Hour t-shirts, multicolors there, hoodies, t-shirts, 25 bucks, hoodie 45. Get a combo of the two, $60, savings of $10 right there. And you can find that at rafesparza.com/merch or grapplinghour.com. You can also become a member on our Patreon, patreon.com/grapplinghour. If you go there, you will get early access to these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra bucks, you can see tape studies, breakdowns. You can see people roasting my competition footage, etc., etc. So all that support means the world to us. And last but not least, we would love it if you guys join our Discord to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. So that's what I got for you guys. I think that's going to do it for us today. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.
Perfect.